Today we're going over the version 4.5 special program. It definitely felt like a more casual special program overall, but there are still some pretty interesting things to talk about, like Chiori, the new character coming, as well as some new systems that I thought were interesting as well, particularly the gacha system, which I thought was a little peculiar. Basically, we're just starting with the trailer. Again, very casual vibes. Kirara does seem to be a focal point because we're gonna have like a cat hosting event sort of later, which I thought was cute, but we'll get into that in a second. As usual, I'll have the redemption codes in the comments below. Do be aware though, they're valid for, I believe, less than 24 hours. She is a Geo sword user, and there is one particular concern I have with her, but first of all, we'll just take a look at her kit. Her elemental skill appears to be an attack that summons a doll. The doll does appear just to be floating there and not actually doing anything. However, if you look at the attack animations, there are some with like scissor cut lines, and I believe those are the coordinated attacks. Whether this can happen while she is off field or not, they don't specify. It's not even totally clear to me right now if she's going to be leaning more towards main DPS or sort of support DPS for like Navia. Because with Navia, it's important to have a lot of crystallize geo reactions, you know, though I still feel like someone like Albedo will just be generally better at that. You can also hold her skill button and aim it, very much like Kaching's held E or Alhaitham's held E. If there are any geo constructs nearby, she will summon an additional doll. From the clips they provided, this seems to essentially double the coordinated attacks. One super unique thing with her is you can actually swap characters mid-air after doing her held elemental skill and going up, and then you can swap to, as they show Navia, to do a plunge attack. As Navia is a great sword user, she obviously has like better plunge attack multipliers, but I'm not sure if we're like going into the plunge meta now with also Gaming and Xianyun. This ability is baked into her skill though. You actually just switch to the next active character if you press her elemental skill again after going up into the air. However, you can also just hit the normal attack button, she'll gain a Geo infusion. So it seems like you might be able to choose actually between making her more of a support DPS for like a Navia or just general Geo team, or a main DPS by giving her the infusion. They don't go into much detail about her burst. From what I can tell so far, it's basically just an attack though. There may or may not be more to her burst, but they don't go into detail, so I can't say. Her exploration ability is a movement speed increase, thankfully not dependent on if it's day or nighttime. Apparently only one character needs to wear one unique cosmetic and this'll work, so pretty good. The one concern I have with Chiori is that, like Dia, she is split scaling. Usually this information wouldn't be at least officially available until we see her in game, but they specifically say down here, dealing damage to opponents based on her attack and def. Split scaling in some cases doesn't really matter, like with Hu Tao, because she technically scales with attack, but you want to build her with a lot of HP, because the more HP, the more attack she gets from that HP. Pretty much same thing with Itto, just with def. They don't specify if she gets attack bonuses based on def, but that's not to say that's not the case. Again, just a concern. It could be totally fine like it is with a lot of other split scalers. Otherwise, she does look like a really fun character. I do love my Geo teams. I will probably at least start with trying to main DPS her, even if that's not technically correct, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Outside of that, of course, as always, we got a new story quest for her. And while I don't talk too much about hangout events, Lynette's does sound interesting because of the reward you get at the end, called a Fatometer. This essentially looks like a hat that pulls out a random number. I think this would be a pretty cool little thing to have when I'm doing my randomized challenges. I don't do them too often, but I guess it will also depend on the range of the numbers here, and if you can even control that. It wouldn't really work for that purpose if not, but I just wanted to mention it, I guess. Anyway, moving on to banners, Chiori is the only new character this patch, but that's pretty typical. Sometimes we get a 4-star as well, but yeah, we have Chiori and Itto to start. Makes sense, they're both Geo characters, and it probably would have been too soon for Navia rerun. We also will, of course, be getting Chiori's signature weapon. They say this sword has a def percent in main stat, which of course tells us def will be more important than attack for her, like it is with a lot of other Geo characters. But they also mention Albedo. Albedo is a sword user that also scales with def, so he'll definitely be an interesting character to try with this when we inevitably do the weapon video for it. My next concern is what comes after this banner. Kinda cracked. Neuvillette and Kazuha, two of like the most meta units right now. I mean, Kazuha has been meta forever, but Neuvillette is insanely strong as well. This is a crazy banner, probably one of the craziest banners I've ever seen, honestly, which makes me a little concerned. Like for anyone that doesn't have Kazuha or Neuvillette and cares even a tiny bit about meta, I would have to recommend to skip Chiori and go for one of these guys. I personally like Neuvillette more, but Kazuha is so versatile. He can be used in so many strong teams. But yeah, phase 2 banner insane. What more can I say? Next, we're looking at the Chronicle Wish. This is the interesting interesting sort of gacha mechanic I was talking about. So we're basically starting with these 6 characters. Half of them are just standard banner units, Mona, Diluc, Jean, and then the other half were previous exclusive banner, but still very old characters, Albedo, Eula, and Klee. And we also have 5-star weapons over here. Again, most of them standard banner weapons, but we also have Song of Broken Pines and Beacon of the Reed Sea. But yeah, it'll basically work like this. You pick a character or a weapon to chart your course, like we are used to with, you know, exclusive weapon banners. As opposed to regular weapon banners, you only need 1 fate point instead of 2 fate points. But since character banners already have essentially 1 fate point, like if you lose a 50-50, you're guaranteed them next time. If you are pulling on the character banner, you will get characters. There's no chance for a weapon to drop if you lose your quote-unquote 50-50, like it currently is with a standard banner. So I think it's good they separated characters from weapons like they already do with the exclusive banners, which kind of really makes me hope you can use standard pulls for this. Otherwise, I would feel like kind of what's the point unless you really want one of these, you know, older characters. There are a few rules for a character to even appear here. First of all, they had to have had at least 3 past banners and have not been available in any recent banners. I don't know what they mean by recent. Is that like 4 patches, 3 patches, 8 patches, who knows? Breaking news, they just released a post that actually goes into more detail here. It is with great sadness that I announced you do need Intertwined Fates, which are the exclusive summon tickets, and not Acquaint Fates, which are the standard banner summons. Pity seems to be 90 regardless. I'm pretty sure Pity is 80 typically for weapons, but they just say 90 for items, period. Also slightly worse is that fate points, like fate points for weapons, do not carry over to the next banner. So if you summon 80 times on Chronicle Wish, you don't get a character, the banner ends, the next one starts, you are guaranteed to get a character with your next 10 pull, because you hit the 90, but if you summon, lose your 50-50, gain that fate point, and the banner ends, that fate point is gone. So in that regard, it's just straight up worse than exclusive banners, while still needing exclusive banner tokens. I guess it is cool to have options, like if there's an older character you really want, but once you lose your 50-50 and you gain that fate point, you are committed to keep going. So yeah, I mean, honestly, pretty unfortunate, but is what it is. Moving on to events now, we got Alchemical Ascension. Seems to be the main event as we get a event exclusive weapon, something called Exalted Earth. Looks like a potion bottle there. And I see a crown over there in the rewards. Seems like a pretty casual event. You are essentially a business owner trying to increase your revenue. There are some like little mini games involved as well. Basically a management sim. I honestly do like these types of events as well. They're kind of satisfying. Then we got Feline Fortress. Again, very casual. You basically make an environment for cats to play and then you can like pet them, and I mean, pretty cute. Not much to say here, honestly. Genius Invocation update, new cards, events, etc. Rolling Crossfire looks pretty fun, like one of those old Flash games. You're basically blasting slimes with different elemental balls, like throwing an electro ball at pyro slimes. Boom, you overload them and throw them off the field. It seems pretty neat. The Great Phase Reaction Debate, basically combat event, but if you stop moving or doing elemental reactions or something, time basically freezes. I'm not sure exactly what the point of this is, other than what they mentioned. You can take some cool pictures, like mid-skill, I suppose. Outside of that, we got a couple small quality of life things. Firstly, you can see the materials required for the next talent level. This is honestly really cool for me, because usually when I'm preparing for a character and want to farm for them, they're usually still level 1, and it's good just to see at a glance without going to a third-party site or something to see what they need. It seems to only be for the next talent and not the overall totals or anything, but still pretty cool. Next up, we got a bit of a beginner guide type thing. Basically, you can see a character's overall power at a glance and some suggestions to help make them stronger. Genshin's also teaming up with Discovery to spread awareness about environmental conservation. I'm all for that. Nature, let's go. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the special program. Chiori does sound cool. I am looking forward to checking her out. The events across the board seem pretty nice as well. The one thing I am a little disappointed about is the new gacha system. It's like, it would have been really amazing if you could use standard pulls on it. Standard banner just kind of sucks in general. It's a complete crapshoot about what you get, especially now that they've started adding more standard banner 5 stars to it. But yeah, I'm gonna assume for most people, they're just not gonna use it. It's just going to be something that's there now. It could be on one of the upcoming patches. There is like a really solid old character that's there and, you know, might be interesting. But yeah, let me know what you think about version 4.5 in the comments down below. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time.